Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. You need to get up early if you want to train your dog to come to you when called off leash. That cannot wait. You can't sleep in. You've got to get busy. And I do mean get busy right now. Today we're going to talk about the third phase that I take when I train my own personal dogs to come to me when called. And that is the biggest step of all because it's where you finally untethered from your dog. You don't have a cord connected to them. You don't have a long line. This is the biggest and riskiest move you're going to make when training your dog to come when called off leash. So one recommendation I'm going to put out there right off the bat. When you think you're ready, when you've done all that foundational work where you've called your dog, Captain, come right in here nice and close. You moved your treat back right to the front to create that target. Just in short review. You've also put on your long line. You got it on. You've worked it hundreds and hundreds of times on a long line, calling your dog back to you from a great distance, 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet. You're working it. Now you feel like, okay, I think we're ready. And at any given day, that's all it's going to be. You're going to think you're ready. You don't know for sure. There's no absolutes when it comes to behavioral modification with an animal or even with a human being. So that being said, I'm going to recommend that when you first attempt to train your dog to become untethered, to take this final step, do it in an enclosed area. Either go to a dog park where it's fenced in, go to a baseball field, big tennis court, a fenced in yard that you have, any area in which your dog is contained. Because again, there are some things in life in which there's initial success or total failure. So we don't want that to happen. We always want to keep safety in mind. Trust our training, but verify. Hear me? Verify it. So keep yourself safe, keep your dog safe. Let's make sure everyone is contained. Okay, moving along. So here we go. Again, we have practiced. We called our dog in. We've done this over and over again. We went from a short line and then we graduated. Get rid of that short line there. Let's go ahead and hook on our long line over here. We hooked that onto the dog, and we practiced calling our dogs many times when our dog was away from us. We tried not to do too much out of a stay position because that just sets up a scenario. Okay, it's a sequence of events. You tell me to sit or down. You tell me to stay. You walk a certain distance away from me. You turn, you face me, you call me, I come to you, and I get reward. That is nothing like real life. Not at all. That doesn't even resemble letting your dog loose in a big field, taking your dog on a hike into the forest, or even taking your dog to a dog park and you decide, I need to get going. It's time to get to work around here. So that being said, when you practice like you're going to fight, like we always said in the military, practice like you fight and fight like you practice. That's the real truth. If you want your dog to be reliable under any condition that you can imagine ever letting your dog loose under, then you need to go hunt those conditions out and you need to make sure that you practice them and practice them thoroughly. Okay, again, healthy dose of patience. I got a video coming up here probably either tomorrow or the next day where I'm going to really talk about patience because we're sorely lacking in that department, especially when we're training come when called because we all want it so badly. We do. I know my dog does. I know your dog does. But don't take those shortcuts. Again, do your homework. Again, I'm going to throw this little treat. Free, Captain. Free. He's going to go over there somewhere. Captain, come. And again, I'm going to reel him in. Remember, we're leaving that line on the ground. I'm going to give him a treat when he lines up here perfectly. I'm going to watch out where my feet are on that line before I release the dog again. And even watch what's going on with my hands so my hands don't get burned. Okay, so now what is the next step? We've now moved to our enclosed area. We're in a fenced-in area. We are safe. If it fails, and it fails more than a few times, then we know from the feedback that we need to go back to this step here. Long line work, more long line work, in the house, out of the house, front yard, backyard, dog park, out of the dog park, you name it. Long line, and more long line. This could take weeks. This could even take months for some of you. Be patient. It's worth it. All right, I'm in my enclosed-in area. Boom, off goes the long line. There we go. Okay, this is the first darn time that we get to find out what's going to happen now. So I'm going to call my dog. Captain, come. Now he comes to me. Terrific, great. Lots of praise. Yes, sir. Don't be no monotone praise here. No obligatory praise. No tapping on the head like it's some sort of keyboard. No, that's one of those, wow, way to go, dude. You are the man. But let's say the opposite happens. So I call my dog. Nothing. R0, response 0. Dog doesn't come to me at all. Maybe gives me a sideways glance and that's it. All right, the next step that you can take for that is a little tiny step backwards, not a full step backwards, just a tiny step backwards. So that would be reconnecting our long line. Again, that whole last step was just to kind of find out, where are we right now? It's safe out here. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does work, then wow, I'm ready to even move on from there. But in case your dog does not come back, here's the step I want you to take. Instead of holding the line in your hand, it is connected to the dog. Just let it lie on the ground. Okay? Dogs get used, by the way, dogs get used to having lines attached to them. By this point here, your dog is more than used to it. It won't even pay attention to it. I know dogs right off the bat, when you first pull a long line on them and you let them just drag it around, their bodies will form like the letter C. It's almost like they crab walk towards you because they don't want to step on their line. And if they step on their line, then they tend to give themselves their own correction. And that'll stop them dead in their tracks. A lot of dogs are coming to me, they look great. Then all of a sudden they stepped on that line and boom, oh, hey, excuse me, what did I do wrong? And I'm going, I didn't do that. You did that, you clumsy dog. But they don't know that. So again, they think, maybe I just got a correction. So again, do all this basic fundamental work on that long line over and over and over again, just so they get used to it. They get used to stepping on it. They just forget about it. It's no big deal. Okay, once you've got that, now you're back to this other tiny little step backwards. The biggest difference between holding the line and not holding the line is exactly that. Some people make a big deal out of it. I don't. I just put the line on the ground. Make sure my feet are clear of it. I don't want to step on it. I don't want the dog to get a correction running away from me either. So that being said, free cattle dog. Now, if I call the dog and he doesn't respond, then I'm going to pick up the leash and grab the leash at that point. All right, so let me show that again here. Here we go. Ready? Cattle dog, free. So, Captain, come. I'm pretending like he did not come. Okay, he's on his way here. Take up my line. And again, as you can see, the line can be, you got to work it. This line can be really troublesome if you're trying to pay attention to the dog and not the line at the same time. So I'll do it one last time. Free. Okay, so I say, Captain, come. He doesn't. I bend down. I grab that leash, and I start reeling that leash in. And typically, you won't have this right here because as soon as Captain saw me bend over and grab that line, he was on his way to me already. But your dog will more than likely be out there sniffing around in the ground, checking something else out, and then the dog will hear, Fido, come, that compound signal. Sideways glance, maybe not even that. That's when you pick up that line and give it a good firm tug. And at this point, it's now starting to resemble a correction. In other words, it's not I'm going to reel you in. I'm going to, hey, excuse me, I could have sworn I said, Captain, come. You know, am I incorrect here? This is where we step things up. Okay, I don't know how many times I've called you. I don't know how many times I've reeled you in. I don't know how many times I've given you treats. But I know this, the time is now for you starting to do this because I say so. And if you don't, I will correct you for that. One thing to know, long lines, okay? The further your dog is away from you, the more you're going to have to yank on that. You can take a dog 50 feet away from you on a long line and go, no, come, and do that. By the time that energy gets all the way to the dog, it's kind of like going, come please, thank you. All right, so that being said, we've got to be able to touch our dogs a little more firmly if we need to. So now we went back to this little step here. We're starting to get that good tug. Come, I mean it. Come, I mean it. Same thing happens when they arrive. Captain, come. Bingo, we move that treat bag over here to the front. We still reward the dog handsomely, and I do mean handsomely. You never come into a bad thing. Even if I had to correct you out there, when you show up here, it is a good thing. It is a wonderful thing. It is the best thing that you can do for me all day long. You've got to have that attitude. All right, next step. Here we go. This is a step that some of you may take, some of you may not take, some of you may need to take it, some of you may not need to take it. I've had them all. I've had dogs where the long line, that was it. As soon as I did enough repetition on it, game over. Dog came to me every single time. Then I've had more willful dogs, more hunting type dogs, more prey-driven dogs. I've had police service dogs, and I've trained thousands of police service dogs. I've had bodyguard dogs that I trained for celebrities, you name it. These are strong-willed animals. And when they get that hunting drive going, they get something in their eyes right there. It's not easy, or not difficult, I should say, for you to suddenly take second place, or even third, or even fourth. In other words, I love you, Bryan, and that treat you've got there, that's been a darn good thing. However, I got other business to attend to. So I'm going to go take care of that, and when I finish up, I'll come to you. Well, that doesn't work for me, and that, by golly, should not work for you either. So, next step that I take with dogs like that, and believe it or not, as spirited as Captain is, you see him, he's happy-go-lucky. He's got that white tail going in the air. He's always just so happy, 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 happy. Well, when I finally trained him to get him to a point where he was super reliable, I used a remote training collar. And again, I've done video series on this. So go back and watch those if you did not. Again, if you contact me, you call this thing a shock collar, I will not even respond to you. Just know that right now. You make some comment and you label this thing a shock collar, you just went somewhere else because you're not going to be in front of me. Because that speaks volumes about what you don't know when it comes to the theory, the science, and the application behind using this tool. And also, do me a favor, throw away your smartphone. Because if you use it correctly, that's about what it is. People contact me all the time on smartphones. They do it. My phone buzzes and I reach down my pocket and I pull it out and I can respond or not. Same darn thing. But when you use this is a tool that will allow you to reach out there and touch that dog at an incredible range, a long ways away from you. Some of them a quarter mile, half mile, miles, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to repeat those remote training collar videos. I'm just going to say this. When you first use this device, you have to obey the rules that I put in those previous videos on remote collar training a couple weeks back. You have to do what's called intended pairing. That is the most important thing that you do. So that means, you know how you've been told you before we started correcting with the long line, we were just tugging on the long line? That was a haptic signal, a touch signal. The sense that dogs use second to their eyes. We were reeling them in, making them go from point A to point B. I get S1, signal 1, Captain come, and I must require response 1 every single time. Well, in the beginning, that was just a haptic signal. I just tugged the dog in, tugged him back to me, free. Well, now I want to add this thing to it. So we set at a very low level, typically something that the dog can I'm just aware of it. Like, what the heck is that? I don't have a clue what that is. Well, I'm going to help clue you in as to what it is. And the way you do that is it's not on a correction level, it's on a touch level. So I'm going to touch you with it. So that means when you give your compound signal, Captain come, you press and hold the button down until the dog gets here. So we do that typically on a 4-foot leash, 6-foot leash, or a long line, but only about 8 to 10 feet. It looks like this. So listen, I've got a sound box over here. It should go off right when I press this button. Captain, come. Way to go, dude. Now, give him his treat here. Free. Again, we can do it again. Do it right out of the heel. Captain, come. And notice I hold it down until he gets here. That's why we do it from a short distance to begin with. Free. Captain, come. There we go. By doing that over and over again, most dogs, takes them about 30 to 50 repetition before a common denominator appears. And they suddenly start going, all right, I'm not really sure what that thing is that I'm feeling, but I've kind of noticed something here. When old Bryan says, come, that's when I feel it, for whatever reason. And when I get to him, he goes away. I think I'm onto something. And I tell you what, that's all you have to be onto. That's it. You don't need to figure out what it is. All you need to understand is when it shows up and how you can control it. Not me. At the end of the day, again, I've told you this many times. Our job as trainers, don't go getting arrogant on me and getting the big head and stuff like that. Our job at the end of the day can be described as nothing more than like I said, I've used the example like these technical people for plays and stages. You know, they set it all up. They build a framework. They build the set. Your job is simply to put your dog in a position to learn with its own self-discovery, through its own free exploration, through its own cognition, taking into account all my sensory input and taking that sensory input and transforming it into knowledge about my environment, knowledge about signals, and then flexibly adapting to all of that knowledge. That's all you do. I'm sorry. If you thought you did more than that, you don't. Okay? So when it comes to this remote collar, that's all I'm doing. I'm introducing a signal. It happens to be a remote one. So one day when I'm not tethered to you and I say, come, maybe you don't hear me, I can tap it at a low level. When you look back at me, I can go, hey, it's me over here. See me over here? Yeah. Come. Now, and if he doesn't, well then, hey, remember, I gave you control of it. Not me. I'm never going to press this button on a correction level unless you make me. And I'm never going to do that unless you know how to make it go away. Yeah, you got to know how to turn it off. So start heading back towards me. So again, your basic work is this. Come, short distance, bing, reward that dog handsomely when it gets here. Free cattle dog. Do it on the long line. Again, go to your long line. Let me get Captain out of here. Free. Captain, come. Press and hold. Boom. Don't want to do it for more than about 20 feet away from you because you want the dog to get back to you, still feeling this haptic signal, so it's making that association. I don't know what it is, but I notice when I do says come, it gets me. When I get to him, it goes away. That's how it works. Once you figure that out, I am now clear to start turning it up, so I start tugging more electronically. That's all you're doing. I've seen people who can yank the daylights out of a long line, and then they'll shame someone for not even yanking half as much with this. Yeah, I'm telling you what, you ask most dogs, I'm going to be honest with you, the dogs, especially the dogs that I deal with, that suffer from psychiatric disorders, you give them a choice. Hey, Bryan, why don't you just stand there subtly, quietly, and go, come. And if I don't, why don't you just go, excuse me, no. Thank you. What a great dog you are. I love you to death. Versus, excuse me, get over here now. Really? You respond to that? Huh? Create that fear? I have no idea what come means because I have no instinctual thing to back it up. So I'm just going with you here, going with the flow. Yeah. So again, these devices have multiple levels and they allow you to simply touch your dog, and you can touch it harder and harder and harder, just like a long line. I can tug harder and harder and harder. Something at one point, something out there has to say to the animal. Okay, so you have to go back. And there has to be something in their head going, you know, if I were you, I'd just go back. I'd just kind of leave the squirrel alone. I'd leave the other dog alone. It's 5 o'clock and Bryan wants to leave the dog park. And you kind of need to go back because the cost of ignoring that command is not, is far greater than the benefit. Animals are smart. Maybe we humans aren't so smart sometimes, but not them. They don't want your cost. They want your benefit. So you simply show them, here, here's how you can avoid the cost. When I say come, you come to me every single time. And this also obeys the rules of semiotics. I give S1, I can now make R1. We never give signals that we cannot enforce. By doing so, we simply teach the animal you have options. You pick. You assign the benefit to whatever you want to do. No way, no sir. That's not how you get off leash with Bryan, because that's how you get killed. That's how you hurt someone else. No way, no how. Not happening. So that being said, this is my favorite tool. Captain was trained on it. You don't see any spirit loss from that dude. Sometimes I wish it did dial down just a notch, because he goes absolutely crazy for his treats, goes crazy for his ball, but I love that. But I got surefire reliability. Okay, so watch the videos on remote collar training. Do think about using, if you have one of these more independent type dogs, free ranging type dogs, runner type dogs, dogs that just kind of don't need you as much. I'm like you, Bryan, but I'm kind of good out here on my own, you know, kind of like a teenager. Hey, it's been real, but I can go do this by myself. So watch out for that. A great device to use, especially if it's used properly. Okay, another thing that you can do with it, just real quick, I want to talk about is the vibration mode. When I was training police service dogs, we used the vibration mode on the remote collars. First of all, this is what we had to use for deaf dogs, just so you know. Imagine your deaf dog's way over there. You can't get to say, hey, Fido, come. No. You have to get their attention, and then when you get their attention, you can do all sorts of signals to come to you. Big old signals, get over here. But you got to get their attention. I've used the vibration mode to train dogs to come to me when called silently, quietly. Because many times you're in a mountain range there, you got a big old rocky crag over here, you got a bunch of trees over here, you name it, the dog goes around the other side of that, they may not hear you call them. So I teach my dogs to come when called on the vibration button. And when you do that, it's just the same thing. Teach them to come when called, first of all, reliably, and then attach them to a long line, same old thing. Press the vibration button, hold it down till they get here. Press the vibration button down, hold it till they get here. And it won't take a dog very long, especially if they're already used to this, to pick that up. They start going, okay, so there's a whole bunch of signals for coming when called. There's this Fido come signal. There's this hand signal. There's this vibration signal. Yeah, it's called a signal suite. And now we become either ors and things like that. So you can do that. Okay, last thing I want to talk about, now I'm going to wrap it up because I know you guys got a busy day, and I got work to do, and you got work to do as well. I want to talk about the reinforcement itself. You've been seeing me pull this little bait pouch right around to the front of my body here, giving the animal a target. And every single time, until I get to this point here, where now the animal's starting to come to me off leash, untethered, no matter what method you're using, when that happens, I'm going to switch from a scheduled reinforcement to the greatest reinforcer of all time. And if you want to know how great that reinforcer is, just take a trip on out there to Las Vegas and start yanking on one of those one-armed bandits. It's called a variable reinforcement. It's addictive. All you got to do is get it every now and then. And if you miss it, you don't get it, you try harder. So now all of a sudden, I'm going to do two things. Number one, I'm going to hide my treat bag, meaning I may even just put the treats in my pocket now. I'm going to put up underneath my shirt, hide it, and the first step I take is Captain, come. And when he shows up right here, oh, let me get you untangled, dude. He's wrapped himself around the thing I'm using to hold my sound bar on. Captain, come. There we go. That's much better. And they'll suddenly appear, and bingo, there will be a treat. Okay, if you use a ball, same thing. You can hide the ball on your body, free. But now all of a sudden, next time I call him, Captain, come. No treat. Good job, buddy. Free, but no treat. So you get a good job, you get well done, but you don't get a treat. And then all of a sudden, Captain, come. Bingo. Now we get a treat. And you mix it up. So sometimes you'll go 3 times in a row, you get a treat. Next 2 times you don't, then you do, then you don't, then you don't, then you don't, then you don't, then you do. And then you can refine it even to a point where I tell you what, you pick when you get it, dog, you make it happen, meaning you come fast. You come spot on right here. Stay. You come really fast to me, really fast. Captain, come. Oh, dude, you're the man. I'm telling you what, that was a good one right there. You even had to hop over that line. Good job, just need to buy the line. Free cow dog. So that, yeah, you pick when they get that treat. And they learn that. They learn this speed, this effort got me that treat. That, no, I'll be there, give me some time, I'll be there in a minute. In other words, that half effort, oh, that don't give me a treat. So you can, again, we're just putting them in control. Letting them control things. All right, so that's called a variable reinforcement. I encourage you that once you get to that final phase in which the dog is untethered, move to a variable. I swear, I think, Captain, you watch me. I don't have to say a thing. I'll just start moving around the room. I'm just going here. You can't see it. I kid you not. It's almost like OCD. I think the dog thinks that I always either have a treat bag on me or a ball. And I make sure I kind of affirm that for him. I've been known to stick a ball in my pocket when the dog wasn't even in the same room, so he didn't have a clue I had a ball in my pocket. And I'm just walking around, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, a ball flies off my body. He's like, whoa. So now, you do that enough times, or all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you just walk up and go, hey, cattle dog, what's up, dude? Boom. Give him a treat, hide it again, disappear. It's gone out of sight. He will think, dang, Bryan's always got a treat on him. All I got to do is look at him long enough and line myself square up with that body right there, and I'll get it. I will get it. Maybe at some point I'll get it. And if I don't, I'm going to try really harder to get it. You bet. I mean, like I said, I can just walk around anywhere. I can just do anything, and all of a sudden, here he comes. He's going to follow me. Wherever I go, there's Captain following me. Captain, come. And again, come around that front there, line it up, bingo, and here we go. All right, guys, a little bit of a long video this morning, but I wanted to wrap it up. I want to cover many things with you this morning because there's just a lot of things to touch on. This is not the last time that we will be doing Come When Call, trust me. I don't go a whole week that someone isn't asking me about different parts of Come When Call, different methodologies, what has worked for them, what has failed for them. So no doubt, we will cover this many times. Go back and watch from the beginning if this is the first time you've picked up the Come When Call video. Go back to Saturday, and then go back and watch remote caller videos if you're thinking about using a remote caller, because you got to use it right. It's a good tool as long as it's used properly. Touch the dog from a distance, through windows, through walls, you name it. And then lastly, be patient. Be patient. Please be patient. This isn't going to come overnight. You got to work it and work it and work it and work it. So we'll be going over this much more. This is not the end of Come When Call. Why would I make it the end? It's the greatest command you could ever teach your dog. Whether you aspire to have your dog off leash or not, there's going to come a day, if old Murphy has his way, in which your dog will suddenly be off leash. The gate got left open, the door got cracked open and left open by one of your children, didn't shut the car door all the way. Someone at the dog park didn't bother to shut the 2 gates that you have to go through to get in the darn thing. And guys, if that happens, I don't want you to experience what so many people have experienced. The loss of their dog. They search for days and days and they cannot find it. Or worse yet, they watch the dog get hit by a car right in front of their very eyes. That's something you'll never forget. And if you have your children with you, they'll certainly never forget it. So Come When Call isn't just about fun. It's about proper management of our dogs, giving them every opportunity to survive living in a human world. Because all those things that get them killed, that's just them being a dog. You brought them into our world. Now it's your responsibility to keep them safe. So, do what you have to do. Okay? Got any questions? You know where to send them? Want me to do anything on a Facebook Live video? Send them my way. If you found this information beneficial, please, of all the things that you've shared, share this. All right, now, I got a couple more treats in my treat bag. Time for me to get back to work training Captain a little bit more, get him a little tighter. you go do the same thing. I'll be tuning in with you guys. Come tomorrow. Have a great day.